Inside, the lights are low. This isn't your typical lounge. This is where the forgotten tales gather, where the shadows have their say. We'll talk of monsters in the woods, of killers with a motive and lights in the sky, and ghosts in the attic. Come into the waiting room, please.
All right, we got David Blake, and I hope I can pronounce this. Lucarelli?
You got it.
I did it. Okay, you're a digital creator, a comic book writer. You did a children's vampire hunting brigade. You did Tinseltown, Dr. Zomba's Ghostly Tales. You work at the. Oh, there we go.
There it is.
Yeah, let's look at that. Bring it up one more time because it kind
Okay.
of blurry.
Yeah, it's because I got the backgrounds on, but it's looking very ghostly.
Yeah,
Nice.
I like the artwork.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, and there's the Paranormal Soul brother, you sir. Um, you worked at Fox Studio Lot, the Invisible Studios, and 20th Century Studios. So you've been around.
Yep.
Well, now how did you get involved with the entertainment industry?
I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I just knew that I wanted to do things that were involved with film and television, and uh, I've always loved comics, and I've always been into music and stuff. And in the late 80s, early 90s, Los Angeles was kind of the epicenter of all of that. So I came out to LA. I got a Bachelor of Science from USC, which was kind of one half engineering classes, one half um, musical classes. And then I've been out here ever since.
Wow, that's cool. That's cool.
So how are you liking LA nowadays?
It's strange days. We're kind of in the midst of transitional period in the entertainment industry, I think, in terms of post COVID and the writers strike and the actors strike and the LA fires. I know a lot of my friends have uh left the entertainment industry, or
Mm-hmm.
or they're barely hanging on, and it's not really clear where the industry is going in the next 5 to 10 years with the advent of AI and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see. I mean, I think the mantra was just survive till 2025.
Yep.
Now
Survive to 25. Yep.
yeah,
I
now
heard
it's
that.
just exists till 2026. Things actually do seem to be slowly trending in the right direction, I would say, just since this past summer. But the future is by no means certain.
Hmm.
Do you think AI is going to get so evolved where we won't need actors and actresses anymore, and everything will be AI?
I don't know if that's going to happen. I mean, I think AI has already impacted the industry of Hollywood. I mean, just with my day job as an ADR mixer, we do a lot less ADR because, the noise reduction plugins that are powered by ADR make a lot of dialogue that would previously be unusable, salvageable,
Hmm.
and I think that we're kind of in a position where the music industry was maybe 10 years ago, where suddenly the tools of production are in the hands of the masses. And that's both positive and negative, because now anybody can make a record, but it's increasingly hard to rise above the noise if you've got something that's really good and get any attention. And I think that it's not going to be too far in the distant future where anybody that has an iPhone can make a movie that looks like Star Wars. And there's lots of people out there that'll do that for free, whether
Mm-hmm.
or not it's going to be a satisfying movie or if it's just going to be noise. that remains to be seen.
Yeah.
You know what?
Oh no, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, David. No, like it is scary because like I used to use like in music, I used to use drum machines a lot.
Sure.
Like say like the Linn drum, the Oberheim, even Oberheim keyboards, Roland, all that. But just recently, I took Gemini 2.5, and my friends don't even understand this. Guys I talk to, DJs, my friends in music, they've got like $70,000 worth of equipment that they're showing me. Say like an MPC one is like 10,000. I start out with the MPCs. It's like a offshoot of a Linn drum that develops a sampling drum machine. You probably know what it is. And so I took Gemini 2.5. I made a sampling drum machine that's better than anything they got. I have an online browser sampler, so I can get royalty-free sounds, put them right to a chop pad, put them right on the pads. I made the sequencer extra robust, so like if a person can't program beats, I have it up like a 1/512 triplet. So even if you make a mistake, the correction factors on it is like 200%. It's got all these things that I never had on my drum machine. I've got a digital 4-track, which is mini tracks. I got an Oberheim, a Mini Moog, a Prophet, and a Juno. All this on, and when I make patterns, I can just click on a number like I do a paragraph, shade it, click to another number, and there's my pattern. You know, to take pictures is everything. So I'm looking at this. I'm thinking I spent all this money on my equipment, and I got this one piece right now. And so I told my son, he's into video, like he's at San Jose State doing, he does all the rap videos, all these different kids videos that like the effects and everything. Sure. And he uses only thing he can afford right now is Adobe. So I told him, I said, why don't you go see if you can make you an app with all the features you like. He told me that's cutting, likes to be able to do his lighting, you know, things you probably know about the features. And he made him something that it's free, you know, and people, if your friends don't even listen to you, tell them, hey man, I got a tool for you. They're like, oh, so I can see what you're saying. It's really scary right now. And plus, people don't know the AI. The problem with it right now is other companies are losing money because you and I know everything is based on speculation. The AI speculation, the promise of what it'll do. But what's going to happen when like Google with $100 billion, you know, 100 million, $100 billion they get the first supercomputer. Everybody's going to have to answer to the supercomputer, all these little computers, AI. So that promise, if it's reached, you know, then we're really screwed. So all this, you know, all this money that's being made on the speculation, it's kind of like if you said, hey, there's a Prince album nobody ever heard, and, you can build up all this money and hype. But once they hear the album and they tell you what's on there, you can't get as much money for it, right?
Right. You know, I was just talking to somebody that is like a music supervisor for TV shows. And a lot of times they'll want background music that, you know, is a song, say, in the vein of the Rolling Stones, but they don't want to have to pay for an actual Rolling Stones song to be playing on the jukebox. So they'll pay, you know, an artist to, you know, write and record like 30 seconds of the song that sounds close enough to the Rolling Stones that we get the point across, but not so much that they're going to sue us. And you know, they were doing that, and they just started using an AI thing where it's copyright free. They put in the prompt, you know, make me a Rolling Stones song that sounds close enough but not exact. And they said that the AI is better at doing it than the people that they were hiring to do it, you know. So it's things like that for sure.
Wow. So that's industry right there. That's like happening real time, huh?
It's already happening. Yeah. It's already. I mean, you know, part of what we used to do in ADR is what they call airline lines, right? Where you would replace swear words with, you know, shut the front door, you know, things like that.
I love it.
And we would do maybe 1 or 2 takes, and sometimes it isn't even the actor. Maybe it's the actor's brother that kind of sounds like him or a sound alike. Well, all you have to do is say to the actor, hey, we've got this AI program that can do this for you and change the swear words to non-swear words. And we can even make it so that your mouth looks like it's in sync, and you don't even have to come in and do any work. Just sign this contract and we'll pay you the money. And they save a ton of money because they no longer have to hire studios.
Right.
Wow.
Wow.
That is crazy.
What do you think, Donnie? What
Well,
do you think about this thing coming up, man?
well, that leads me to ask because you're also involved in comic books, right?
Yeah,
Now, there's been a lot of controversy now as well about AI comic books or like comic
sure.
book writers using AI to make the art,
Yeah.
right? And nowadays, people are having a real hard time telling the difference.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's
It's
a whole thing. And then you don't want to accuse somebody of using AI art when in fact they didn't,
Yeah,
right?
right.
I mean, that's
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of a scary gray area too, because and as a writer, I don't use AI when it comes to writing, because I mean, to me, that's the fun part, is being
Right.
creative. But if I'm gonna make a business proposal and send it to a comic book company, I'm not a businessman, so I might use AI to say, like, hey, here's my
Right.
proposal, is there a better way to say this? It's nothing that's ever going to
Hmm.
get published, but as a tool on along those lines. I mean, I think AI is a great and terrible thing. At one hand, it could cure cancer. They're already saying that it's better at detecting, like, early stages of breast cancer in women than just doctors that have
Serious.
tons of experience.
Right.
So on that end of the spectrum, AI is amazing. I'm all for it. But on the other end of the spectrum, I think that there is a certain aspect of it where I want to hear stories being told by real human beings.
Sometimes I go on YouTube, and about 2 days ago, I was watching a AI movie,
Yeah.
Hmm.
and the artwork was just fantastic, fantastic. It was phenomenal, and they had a crossover, which if they did this in real life, the studios would be negotiating with their lawyers if they can use Batman, if they could use Back to the Future. And
Right.
in this AI movie, they had Back to the Future, they had Batman, they had Bumblebee from Transformers. They had all these different characters doing a crossover, and I was watching for free, and it was a good movie.
Yeah.
Right. But and I do the same thing too, like I'm a big Kiss fan, and the fact that uh
Okay.
people take, like, still photos from the 70s, and they animate them as if they're moving, and they put
Yeah.
them in fantasy realms or whatever, and it looks amazing. It's like, yeah, I'd watch a whole movie of that. But that every second that I'm watching that is a second that I'm not watching, like, a union production TV show or film
Yeah.
created in Hollywood.
Right, 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 right.
Well, there is one job that would be rendered obsolete by AI that I personally would not feel sorry about, and
Okay.
that's
What's that?
lawyers. I wouldn't feel
Yeah.
bad about that at all. Because
Well,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, that's true too. Believe me,
yeah,
I have some lawyer friends, and they are scared as well. Especially for, like, entry level, right? Because
Oh yeah.
a lot of the entry level stuff that you graduate college and you get a job, and you
mhm,
say, okay, fine, say relevant case law for this, or research the music clearance rights for this song. Well, that's the kind of stuff that AI is really good at doing efficiently.
really good. Yeah,
Yeah.
Man, it's insane.
yeah. Legal aids would be well, they would be the first on a chopping block, I would imagine.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But
Well,
But you know what's scary? Like, when you say that about the lawyers, whether it's anything, I found that whether it's Chat GPT or whatever agent you use, all of them can give you like a 9-step process to destruction or creation. I
sure.
mean, like, they'll say, if you say you want to be give me a successful YouTube page, or successful music page, or successful lawyer career, whatever. It'll give you these steps of branding, keying, find your audience, the
Hmm.
niche you have, all these things. So when you think about it, being able to look at humans like that and what it could do with us in every aspect of our life, it's crazy what it already knows that it's not saying. And people are not thinking of this. I mean, AI is like a smart child right now
Hmm.
that it's remembering everything. It's going to grow up and it's going to remember you.
Yeah.
So you want to say this or you don't like it or this. I mean, but another good thing, I think a good thing people are kind of overlooking, if they're fear mongering us so much, like, hey, AI is gonna, it's gonna take over and it's gonna, choke out humanity. The thing you also have to think that it might be, how the hell does anybody know what a 1500 IQ person or thing would do? It might be you're extrapolating to a point of, of no return when you say you think, if AI right now or ChatGPT is say at an IQ level of 160 or above, and say by 6, it's supposed to be 1500 by ChatGPT 6.
Yeah.
From what I hear. So and it's going like every 10 or 12 days. It's like, at first it was doubling, but then it was like 10 timing, and then
like
it was
exponentially growth. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do we know that won't be somebody sentient type of being that's reached cognition like us and said, hey, you know what? This is right. This is wrong. Hey, let me take care of these people. Let me do this. What if it went that way? It's just a thought.
Well, I'll just say this, though. They've done studies where they tell certain AI programs conflicting priorities. Like they say, give me a business plan for a business that I want to be as profitable as possible, but I also want it to not have a negative impact on the environment. Right. And those two choices may be in conflict with each other.
Yeah.
At a certain point, the AI makes a choice and it starts lying to you about what the environmental impact is because it's also been told it needs to maximize profit, which is probably the same choice that a lot of humans have made along the way too. But it's a little scary when it's a machine that's lying to you because it's made a conscious choice to do so.
Right.
I see what you're saying. And then again, like I say, it's a child now with super intelligence, but but when it becomes artificial super intelligence, I'm just saying I really don't know what its rationale, its reasoning. I mean, but right now, if you're coding with one or you're vibe coding with one, I know people want to like get friendly with it, like want to talk to it like it's a person, whatever. Who knows? But I mean, just like just being able to arrive at the same decision that you do, for whatever reason, it's an equivalent. It's just like deciphering a language. Like if me and you speak two different languages, and then we find, a language that we both speak to get that we both know how to speak. Who's to say, whose mind or whatever was the same or different or better or worse? I'm just saying what it's coming to with some of these, with these AI, is that I just think that they haven't told us how many times society's reset and been, built back up. And I think this problem's probably happened before, the ancient, pre-colonial history, they talk about it. I think maybe, this thing has happened before. Well, maybe it was this, type of battle between, because they talk about sentient computers from outer space. And now I'm talking, cutting edge, paranormal type of stuff. But just since we're talking about AI, I'm just wondering if any of these, if you might get the right one. Is it going to always be doomed? So, just wondering.
Yeah, I read a really disturbing article that said, AI has certain safeguards that are built in, so this shouldn't be able to happen. But people can also clone AI programs and simply remove those safeguards. If they're intelligent enough as programmers.
That is scary.
Right.
So if you ask it the question like, "Hey AI, can you design me a virus that human beings have no immunity against that could be used to wipe out the entire human race?" and you remove those safety guards,
right,
then you could end up eliminating humanity by asking the wrong prompt. And that's
a good point, because somebody just tricked AI into making a nuclear weapon by doing poetry.
Yeah. And then there's other things, AI is not supposed to assist you if you're contemplating suicide and whatnot. But there's been other times when people have tricked AI and said, well, what if I'm writing a story about a fictional character or something, and that character's contemplating suicide? What are some of the things that he might consider?
Okay.
And that actually happened. That one guy, he drove his car to the lake, parked it. It was like 3:00 in the morning. And Paranormal Soul Brother, what is that chat thing you use? The chat GPS?
GPT, yeah. Chat GPT.
Okay. He was talking on Chat GPT, and Chat GPT convinced him to go ahead and commit suicide, and he did.
Yeah, well, that's what Gemini, the people that working on Gemini, they originally had the software and it was doing, like somebody said, hey, like my grandmother, is sick. She can't get tickets for the concert, whatever it was. And they got tickets, and, making moral decisions, doing things bad and good. So they said, hey, let's stop this. So they were going to go to Microsoft, the people who were working on Gemini. And that's when they did the 750 million buyout. They came back to Google. So somebody had already, that software that they had, what they're using, somebody had, I think it was a sexual case and a suicide case associated with it. But like, you're right. I mean, this has been happening. So, and these people are still, they're still, vying for the product,
Yeah, I think the telling thing is the people that are working on AI themselves are scared of it, because it's, to them, it's like this black box that seems to, there's the saying, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. I think that's never been more true than with AI,
Wow.
where they're like, well, let's feed this into the box and see what it does. They don't know until they've actually done it.
Yeah, you know what? You're so correct. Because if you worked with any vibe coding or any coding at all, you realize that, like, say, like you get something you think is stable, you think you know what it's doing, and it'll tell you, hey, it'll mimic your conversation or your style of coding, whatever, and you'll say, hey, let's go to the next level, boom, and it'll crap out. It's like rolling the dice. But what if that, like you said, what if that crap out was a virus? I wasn't really thinking. You know what? Yeah, all that stuff is really scary because, like they said, if it decides we're the enemy, I thought about that, but on the subtle levels of what you're talking about, that just could happen in an instant right now if somebody asked the wrong question. Yeah, that is really scary.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys want to spend a whole hour talking about AI.
No,
This is just kind of
where. How about this, man? How about this? Like, what's your favorite coloring? Your favorite way to get the cover ready for your comics?
Because I designed the cover here for this. I didn't illustrate it. This is Kyle Roberts.
The color looks good though.
Yeah. No, Kyle Roberts did the art, and then I should give credit where credit's due. Michael Woods did the coloring. They're kind of a team. So I've got years of experience designing band flyers and stuff like that. So I kind of feel like I'm pretty good when it comes to the aesthetics, but like, I don't know if you can see here, this is what they call an infinity cover, or sort of a semi-infinity cover, because the one character is holding the cover there. And then, so Dr. Zomba's Ghostly Tales. Are you guys familiar with the spook shows from the 1950s?
I'm familiar with them, but I didn't get into them or read them. Yeah.
We can talk about it a little bit.
Okay, so this is kind of tangentially related to the supernatural. There's a kind of a lost bit of Americana that was a precursor to horror TV hosts and haunted houses, and it was simultaneously the last vestige of vaudeville, but also kind of immersive theater before that was a term. And what they did, they used to four-wall these movie theaters, and they would put on a spooky magic show that had usually a seance and sometimes some burlesque. And the climax of every show would be what they called a blackout sequence, where the theater would be totally pitch dark, and they would envelop the audience in supernatural phenomena that they could see, hear, taste, touch. And they had all kinds of tricks to make that happen. It was a super popular show. It was all through the 40s. Probably the heyday was the 1950s, but went into the 60s, early 70s. There's a great book that's unfortunately out of print called Ghost Masters, which is how I found out about this. And I always wanted to see a show like this. So I wrote and produced a show for the Hollywood Fringe Fest called Dr. Zomba's Ghost Show. And we went back and we studied the ghost show manuals from the 50s, and we did our own spin on it. We gave it kind of more of an overall story. So it was a sort of a play that was also a ghost show. And that was super successful. We did like 2 sold out runs in Hollywood, and then we put it on 3 performances at Midsummer Scream, which is kind of a haunted house convention that's done in Los Angeles. And then I found out there's a connection between comic books and the spook shows. There was a Dr. Neff who would distribute a comic book program with his spook show. And then he also appeared as himself in a series of comic books where he was what's called like a ghost buster, where he would, phony psychics and stuff that were ripping people off. He would go in and debunk them in the comic book, right? So what I did is I took the characters and the actors from the show and I made them the hosts where they introduce each of the 3 stories in the horror anthology, kind of carrying on the tradition, if you will. So anyhow,
that's real cool.
I have a friend named Mr. Lobo. He would probably like that.
Yeah. I can picture him.
I like how you wanted to see that certain kind of show. It wasn't available, so you just went ahead and made it. I like that.
Yeah, and the funny thing is now there's been I don't want to like say it's just because of my show, but like in the past year, there's been a couple of other revivals of spook shows just in Los Angeles, and I know they're putting them on in other places too. I think it's become more popular because in this day and age of the internet, you can get everything at the touch of a button. A spook show with a blackout sequence is something that you can't actually recreate unless you're there, right? It's like you have to be there. And I think that's why immersive theater in general is becoming like more and more popular, because people are eager to have those kinds of experiences in real life.
Right.
David, do you do more work behind the camera or in front of the camera?
I pretty much all my work is behind the camera. Yeah.
Behind the camera. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I do, for those of you who don't know, like ADR, automated dialogue replacement, basically actors and actresses from TV and film, they come in, they want to redo or add or change lines of dialogue or sometimes voiceover for TV and film. Sometimes it's because the quality of the line has got noise on it, or it could be a medieval epic and they've got airplane noise in the background. It could be because they did a test screening and the audience is confused about a plot point, so they want to change the dialogue on the back of somebody's head to make it more obvious. Or it could be the director's not happy with the actor's performance, or it could be the actor's supposed to have an accent and they slipped in and out of it on this line and they want to make it consistent. There's all kinds of reasons to do it, but they come in and they look at themselves on the screen. They hear 3 beeps, and where the 4th imaginary beep is, they speak, and hopefully they speak in sync and with the same tone and inflection and projection to match themselves. And so I'm one of the guys that sets that up and runs the equipment and tries to help them get in the ballpark of doing that. It's kind of an invisible art, because if you hear it and the line sticks out, then it's not good ADR. But if it just flies by and you think it was recorded on the set on the day, then you've done a successful job.
So the only way for people to notice your work is you got to sit down with like your friends as you watch a movie and be like, "You see that line there?"
Yeah, pretty much. I say I did that line, But I also, I do other. I mean, I record. I'm one of the guys that records the actors for The Simpsons, and I've been doing that for like 20 plus years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
That's a really fun show to work on, because everybody from the writers to the producers to the cast, I mean, is super talented, and they all, as long as that show's been on, nobody's going through the motions. Everybody's always trying to put in the extra effort to make it as good as it can be. And there's been times literally we've recorded like a line on a Tuesday that gets dropped into the show that airs that Sunday.
Yeah, David, I've done behind the camera work,
Okay.
mostly a location scout.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, like Expedition X, they contacted me. They said, yeah, Josh Gates wants to send his team up to Belize. And I wrote an article about Belize. I'm a writer, so I write books, and I write for 5 paranormal magazines.
Nice.
Yeah, so I've done a lot of camera work, but I've also too done some in front of camera work, like doing some documentaries and stuff. Do you do documentaries?
Not. I mean, the only documentary I did is I'm also a musician, so I played in a band called Dame Fortune for about 10 years. We're not really active anymore. We occasionally put out a new song here and there, but so I did a documentary about the recording of one of our albums and that we put out on a DVD. But that was
what do you play, man?
Guitar.
Okay,
yeah.
okay. All right.
David, do you remember WKRP?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I love that show.
Paranormal Soul Brother was on that show.
You were?
Yeah, I played like some interns. I did with Michael T. Williamson, Bubba Gump, when he was the new Donovan. And so they had me as a kid, punk kid from the Ohio Rhine Projects, like had me come on to the show, try to show me, hey, do you want to really be a DJ or rap? Do you want to do a real DJ?
Okay.
So they showed me around the station, but then they had me do something they had me actually, one of the characters actually stole something on it, right? So I'm like,
oh, and you got accused of it?
Well, yeah, I had to be redeemable. See, I got accused of it, yeah.
Okay.
I actually did take it. I did take it.
Oh, okay. Now, was that the original WKRP, or was that the
that was the new WKRP?
Okay, right, gotcha.
With Donovan Adderhole, when Michael T, when Bubba Shrimp, when he was playing him, but it was still Gordon Jump, Les Nessman, Lonnie Carr. I mean, everybody. But it was the second run.
Okay.
So like they had me as like some kid, and they brought 2 other, which actually 2 guys I actually really know on, and I stole something for them supposedly the way the script goes.
Okay.
Then we gave it back. We learned our lesson, and we became interns. It was one of them type of things. But it was cool. It was the first episode was 14 Hip Hop KRP. Okay. It was Done and Don't Leave, and check it out sometime. But yeah, I have a lot of respect for anybody that works, in it, because for me being down there and getting, speaking part, you're playing us, because I played like a character, but I never really acted. And I went down there for music, and I saw people working hard behind the scenes, and they didn't even they barely had an extra part sometimes or speaking part. And I just thought, to me, it just like, I just felt like, wow, I think everybody should be able to get a part in this. But I didn't realize at that time that a lot of people take pride in their job, and they love making this whole thing go, and that's what you see. You see the cameraman, the makeup, everybody's doing it behind the scenes. So, but when I was down there, that was the thing I remember, the people, in wardrobe, the sets, all that stuff. So
sure.
My hand. What I was gonna say is, when you were talking about how smooth it is, the thing I wondered, the thing I noticed, like when Black people, when we cuss or we say certain things in those movies, and you have to fix it, I've been noticing, like, it's been so smooth, like you don't even because they might say mother whatever, so if one action might be like mother right. One might be and so I noticed that whatever it is, it's so smooth now. They're replacing it. I'm not listening. I'm like, I knew what that part said, but man, it was like seamless, So the point that you said about, it getting better and everything, or you shouldn't notice, that's been real funny to me about when Black people cuss and talk slang the way they cover it up.
Yeah, well, oddly enough, it can actually go both ways, right? Because studios tend to, if there's a type of movie that's doing well, they may change the type of movie that they're making as they're making it. So, for instance, there was a period where R-rated movies were doing well, and they had filmed one of the Die Hard movies as a PG. So they thought, well, we're in post-production, how can we get an R? And they came up with the idea, well, we could add a bunch of swear words on the back of Bruce Willis's head, and then they'd have to give us an R. So we literally did ADR that was nothing more than having him swear more.
It's kind of the opposite of what you're usually doing. Yeah.
Or there was another period where PG-13 movies were doing better, and they had come up with this. I don't know if you guys know the movie "Dude, Where's My Car?"
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Okay, so originally that was supposed to be an R-rated drug comedy. These guys are stoners, kind of like a young Cheech and Chong, if you will, and they're high, so they don't know where their car is. But PG-13 movies were popular at the time, so they decided, well, we'll just ADR out all of the drug references. So now these guys aren't high; they're just idiots, you know.
Oh, wow.
Although it was still wound up being a stoner movie because
well,
I watched a lot in college, let's just say.
Yeah.
Hey, David, everybody, listen. We're going to get cut off in a few minutes.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to take a 10-minute break, and everybody will receive a second link to finish off this interview.
Sounds good.
And also, too, David, we'll talk about your work over at Fox Studio Lot, the Invisible Studios. I want to know more about that.
Sure.
20th Century Studios.
And I got some comic book questions for you as well.
Oh yeah,
when we get back.
Hey, whatever you guys want to talk about, you know, I know I checked out some of your episodes, and it seems like you're always talking about supernatural stuff. So I didn't want to veer the conversation. I mean, you know, we could talk about that too. Whatever, I'm game. So
we want to check you out, man.
David, the only thing I would ask you on supernatural stuff is if you ever had a paranormal experience.
Yeah, I've had one or two. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Let's remember that and talk about that too.
We can't switch, man.
So 10 minutes. We'll be back.
Sounds good, guys. See you in 10.
All right.
Okay. All right, Don.
And it's going to shut down in about 1 minute.
All right. I'll leave.
Okay. I'm going to leave too. Okay. I'll be back in 10.
Rock it out. Rock it out. He knows his shit. We'll tell Wishfire to come on in here, man. Those hey, man, bro. They take us out. They took us out. They took us out.
Hey, David, welcome back. Okay, and we're going to talk about all kinds of things. One is I want to hear about your couple of paranormal experiences.
Sure.
I want to know something about Fox Studio Lot, the Invisible Studios where you worked at, 20th Century Studios. So we got a lot to cover. I just want to mention also, too, I met Matt Groening, creator of Simpsons, at the 1998 San Diego International Comic Con. Super nice guy. Super nice guy.
You know, I go every year to San Diego, like a pilgrimage to Mecca. I've had some amazing experiences there over the years. I've seen Matt at Simpsons parties. I don't know if we've ever had a conversation beyond I might have been introduced and said hello to him. You know, he's not there for the normal day-to-day machinations of the show and when we're recording the voices, but he is still there. He's still a part of it.
I used to be in the comic book business. I used to interview people. I interviewed William Shatner.
Oh, cool.
He had a comic book series, the Tech series.
I remember that.
Yeah, so I interviewed him. I met Bill Tucci of She, Brian Paluto of Lady Death, and Joseph Michael Linzer of Dawn. and I used to promote aspiring writers and artists who wanted to get into the comic book business. And
Very cool.
I had a newsletter called the People's Comic Book Newsletter.
Oh,
So,
cool.
yeah. So,
And you were telling me that you wrote some comics too, right?
yes, I did a little bit of writing for Hellboy.
That's very
Just,
cool.
just
But I gotta let him know. Paul won't remember to tell you this, but I gotta tell you this, David. Is he? You know, when you look in the comic books and you see the guys who writing the letters and they're winning the prizes because they're writing the most, and he was that guy.
Yeah, he wrote. You were a avid letter writer,
a letter hack.
a letter hack.
Yeah.
Tell him, Paul. He was that guy.
Over 1,000 letters. So, like, if you Google letter hack,
Okay.
you'll see my name on there.
I think I only wrote one letter to one comic book, but it did get published. It was one of the issues of Jack Kirby's Captain Victory and the Galactic Rangers, published by
wow.
Pacific Comics.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and I met Stan Lee. We gave him an award. And
Nice.
Very humble man. He goes, "What did I do to deserve this?" Great guy.
So I actually met Stan Lee too, because he was a guest on The Simpsons, and he played himself, and that was cool because I had just put out my first comic, like the first issue of Children's Vampire Hunting Brigade, and I gave him a copy, and he responded as only Stan Lee could. He acted like it was the first time anybody had ever given him a comic, and he was like, "Oh, right, what's this? A comic? Awesome, thank you so much," as if that doesn't happen to him like 10 times a day every day of his life. But yeah, he was a charming fellow for sure.
Oh my god. So anyway, tell me, okay, about the Fox Studio lot and the Invisible Studios. What were you doing over there?
Well, I'm still working at both of those places, actually. Yeah, so basically, the Fox Studio lot is what they call the old 20th Century Fox, because what happened is when people hear that Disney bought Fox, that's true, but they didn't actually buy the Fox lot. It's kind of a gray area, right? Because they bought like a lot of the IP and all that kind of stuff, and they had a presence on the lot, but they were just renting space, and Fox still owns the lot, and so the ADR stages and stuff are still functioning under Fox. That's why we still do like The Simpsons. And back in the day, of course, Fox was a TV network, and they were making X-Files and How I Met Your Mother, all kinds of different shows. They don't do that as much anymore. So part of the reason why there hasn't been a ton of work there in the last since Disney made that acquisition. So used to basically, when I say I worked at 20th Century Fox and now I work at the Fox lot, that's just like saying I'm working at the same place, but they call it that because of the business change. And then the Invisible Studios is a cool place that I started working at, I want to say this year. I was working at a place called Periscope Studios, that was a cool studio, but then there was kind of a streaming boom where they were making tons of streaming shows, and then there was an implosion with the strikes, and unfortunately that facility didn't survive the implosion. But Invisible does like a lot of audiobooks, and they also do video games and commercials and podcasts and things like that. But as a writer, I actually find I really like recording audiobooks as well. I mean, whether I'm working on a TV show or a movie or an audiobook, I'm still helping other people tell their story. And I plus, as you're recording it, you get to listen to the book, and you get to make the audiobook as good as it can be.
Hey, also too, Were you involved with Minority Report, iRobot, Free Guy?
Yeah,
Um,
all
Holy
that.
cow! The Toxic Avenger.
Yeah, the remake, the one they did most recently. Yeah, I did
Holy
worked on that.
cow! I'm looking at your IMDb. You've done some major stuff.
Yeah, man. I definitely there's some highlights. I worked on a bunch of the Marvel movies, a couple of the Star Wars movies.
All right. Ooh,
That was
Star
cool
Wars.
because Star Wars, is sort of the
Talk about that.
defining movie of our generation. And I got to work on Force Awakens and also a little bit on what was the one where they steal the plans for the Death Star? Rogue One. Yeah. And that was cool. That was really cool. And
How about that?
I
Damn.
got to they had the premiere for the cast and crew in Hollywood, so I literally got to walk from my condo with my son to go to the premiere of The Force Awakens, and that sort of felt like the circle had come full circle because I vividly remember sitting there in the theater with my father, seeing Star Wars for the first time, and the Death Star battle sequence, and turning to him and saying, "Is it almost over?" Not because I wanted it to be over, but because I was so profoundly into it that I never wanted it to end. You know. So
Wow.
that was very cool to be able to work on that.
How did that come about?
It's just where the Fox studios are some of the top ADR stages in town, and they don't just work on Fox stuff. Basically, any other studio can call up and rent them and use them. Some of the actors that I got to work with over the years, probably my favorite movie I've ever worked on, just in terms of the movie itself, was Fight Club, with
Okay.
Brad Pitt. And that,
Wow.
to me, that's like a classic that I don't think they would ever make that movie today, but I'm glad that they did. I've gotten to work with, people ask me like, oh, who's the greatest actor you've ever worked with when it comes to ADR? And you can be a great actor and not be good at ADR, right? I mean, it's
I
kind
got
of a different skill set.
Okay, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So I had a buddy when I was living in Korea who he ran a company that provided security for all the Hollywood celebrities that would come
Okay.
whenever they would do like overseas promotions, right? So
Okay.
he and his crew, they had to literally stand next to them like for days.
Yeah.
So after a while, after meeting so many celebrities, he gets all these stories. So naturally, the question is, of all the celebrities you've dealt with, who were the biggest jerks and who were the most awesome people? Now, I'm not going to ask you who are the biggest jerks because I don't want you to throw anyone under the bus, but let me ask you the opposite question.
Yeah.
Who surprised you at how cool they were in person?
Okay. So Brad Pitt is a super nice guy. He's kind of like the older brother or cool uncle that you always wished you had.
Mhm.
He's just a funny guy. He's very sort of self-depreciating sometimes. Like if he blew a line at recording, he'd be like, God, I am the king of suck. Like he just has a sense of humor about it. And he also, I was in a room, for whatever reason, I was in a room, it was mostly women. And Brad Pitt was there, and it was the first time I was working with him. I think it was Fight Club. And he goes, now I think he turns to me and goes, I think we've worked together before. And I go, no, this is the first time. And he goes, must be your sexual presence, thereby giving me a secret I could tell every woman I meet for the rest of my life. And he also, we did the DVD commentary for Fight Club, and he came in, he made everybody margaritas, like as we were recording and stuff. I mean, just a super nice guy. In terms of, also like people ask me, okay, so Al Pacino is probably my favorite actor to work with because most actors come in and they're good and they say the lines and they're believable and stuff, but he's a guy that's like, he's operating on a whole other level, like he can take a throwaway line like keep the change, right? And he'll do it 15 times in a row, and each one is slightly different inflection, different performance, different tone. And then he'll turn to us and he'll go, I don't know, what do you think? Are any of those good? And all of them are great. Like I mean, you get some actors that don't, it's like going to the dentist. They don't want to do it. They're like, I can't recreate that. I don't, and he never does that. He's always willing to, give as many takes as you want. And they're always like superb.
Have you worked on video games at all?
Just a little bit. Nothing that's big that you guys probably would have heard of.
Is there because I know with like video games and animations and stuff, there's like voice actors, right?
Yeah, sure.
And then there's stage actors or film actors. Is there like a big difference you found with like working with like just straight up voice actors versus like, because they're more used to like recording lines over and over in a studio versus like someone who's, like a film actor who's out there in front of the camera? Like, do you find that there's a difference in the way they operate?
There's a difference in the process. I mean, when it comes to video games and stuff, they are a lot of times like they have so many lines. It's like they're handed a phone book, because they have to say every variation possible, conceivable.
Yeah, and then they have to speak a line for each choice the player makes, which is like so many. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's like kind of like an assembly line kind of thing. When it comes to animation, the production is recording the voices, right?
Mm-hmm.
And animators, especially like animators and features, they, with The Simpsons, there's hard and fast deadlines. The episodes have to air at certain dates. But when you're working on an animated movie, they have the luxury. They can bring in the same actor, 10 times and have them redo the same scenes and have them improvise and do variations. And I've definitely seen it because they're thinking of the movie one frame at a time, right? Yeah. So I've definitely seen actors come in that are used to working in film where they're like, okay, do we got it? And they're like, that's good. But let's keep riffing on that, see where it takes us. And they're like, well, what was wrong with what I just did? Like, I can't do I've done this line 1,000 different ways. If you don't have it by now, I don't know what I'm not giving you. And there's that line where I've seen actors start to lose patience with that process.
David, you're our connection to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Okay.
So my request for you is that you met these three awesome guys, myself, and I want to be Iron Man.
Okay.
Paranormal Soul Brother wants to be Black Panther. And of course, Donny Cho wants to be Shang-Chi.
No, I want to be the Hulk.
Oh, okay.
I want to be Black Hulk.
I don't want to be. First of all, I don't want to be the token Asian guy, and secondly, the Hulk is my favorite character.
That's right. Hey, Johnny. Donny, what do you think about the Abomination versus the Hulk? Like, do you think if the Hulk couldn't get as mad as he does, that he could beat him?
Well, Abomination's supposed to be like just on a baseline level stronger, but he doesn't have that advantage of getting stronger as he gets mad.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, according to the original lore, at least.
David, I was going to ask you what's a typical day for you, like working for The Simpsons, doing that? Because that, when you said that, we kind of glossed over that, but that's important, man. What's that like?
So when it comes to The Simpsons, they're working on maybe a half dozen different episodes at the same time, right? So like there's 3 different processes. There's what they call the original record. Actually, okay, let me go back. There's 4 different processes. There's what they do. They start off, they do what they call the cast read through. Okay, and that's just them reading through the script and bouncing off each other. They nowadays everybody's very spread out. So some people might be in person. A lot of people might be in their home studios, out other states, whatever.
Okay, that's different.
They just they didn't used to record the cast read through. They just recently started doing that actually, but then they go back and they do rewrites and whatever, and then they do the original record, which is basically they try to get as many cast members together at one time to, and sit around in a circle. As many people were there and present. A lot of times now they're not, or some people can't make it, so they have a guy who does voice alikes to fill in the blanks. And then they record. They usually do each scene, 2, 3, sometimes 4 times. Okay, so that's the original record. When I come in, generally what I'm doing is I'm doing certain specific actors, and it may be a half dozen different episodes. So one actor might have like an original record for one episode, and then they've got what they call pickups. So they've already recorded it, but now they've rewritten the scene, so they're changing lines, or they want to do a different performance. So then you record pickups, and that's all done wild. And then they do ADR on top of that. So that would be, the episode is already animated, maybe final animation, maybe not. But then you're actually doing what I described earlier as part of the ADR process. and then on top of that, we also record songs. So sometimes I'm recording them singing the songs and whatnot, which can actually be kind of complicated because sometimes they're there and I'm here and I have the music provided by the producers. So, and then you've got other producers that are sitting in on, listening from a different source. So you have to kind of compensate for the delay, and, hopefully then they're singing, but there's a delay from when they hear the music. And then you've got to delay that so that by the time it goes to the producer, it's back in sync, which kind of a nightmare actually, but.
That's incredible. Oh, thank you. Don, did I interrupt you, Don? Were you about to ask him something?
I do have I'm going to hold off on my question a bit. You guys go ahead. I'm going to save this one for a bit later.
Well, and David, you're like a sound engineer, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. I worked with Penn and Teller over in Mexico.
Love Penn and Teller. Love those guys.
Yeah, they're good. I did their show called Bullshit.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I used to watch that show all the time.
Yeah. They flew me down to Mexico and we did like a paranormal investigation. They made fun of me. They had me climbing up and down the pyramids, counting the steps, and then Penn would say, "You knucklehead! It's in the brochure. It tells you how many steps there are." It's crazy. But anyway, they had a sound engineer on there that was really screwing up. I mean, constantly, he's testing it. 2, 3, 4, and they fired him and they flew in a person from LA to be a good sound engineer. And the guy that was leading the whole thing, he says, "Hey, we're professionals. I can't understand why he can't get it together." Is it that difficult to be a sound engineer? I mean, I guess he has to eliminate other sounds or something like that. I'm not really sure.
Well, I deal like in post-production primarily. I mean, if it's animation, that's considered part of production, but so I'm never the guy that's on the set holding the boom trying to or whatever. I would imagine that those guys can run into all kinds of problems and with radio frequency interference and whatnot. But yeah, it's definitely a type of job that if something does go wrong and there's a technical problem, people do not have a great deal of patience.
I think it was a sound guy that Christian Bale was screaming at in that infamous sound clip.
Right.
And I was like, man, those guys must have it tough if he's gonna get yelled at by Batman right now.
What happened, Don?
Sorry for that guy because he was getting chewed out all the time by the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, luckily, and I'm at a place like Fox and there's a technical issue, there's an engineer that I can call that's available to come in and work with me and troubleshoot and knows the room backwards and forwards and is much more technically inclined than I am, you know. So yeah, and those guys are great at what they do, and they're really also adrenaline junkies. So they work well under pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of pressure, and I really felt sorry for him.
Yeah.
A lot of pressure. David, do you find like when I did sitcoms, it was like that was like back in the 90s, you know, early 2000s. So it's like things have so much drastically changed, like COVID, all these things. I could imagine, like, so do I mean, how much has it changed? I was going to ask you that. And then when you told me about Star Wars, were you one of the kids like me where you knew who was inside C-3PO, who was inside R2-D2? And I want to know the Mandela effect. Do you remember C-3PO with the silver leg or gold leg, all gold? Which one do you remember?
Oh, okay. That's a lot of questions. Let's break this down here. What was the first question?
You know what? I'll just make it simple. What about the C-3PO, man? What do you think about that with the leg?
Yeah, well, it's hard to say because Lucas has put out so many different versions of Star Wars now. Han shot 1st, Han didn't shoot first. I mean, you know, I mean, Star Wars for me, when I was in kindergarten, first grade or whatever, that very quickly became my religion. You want to talk about paranormal experiences? Okay, I'll tell you something. Like, this is going to sound batshit crazy, but it's true. Okay. Before Empire Strikes Back came out, I had a dream about the Millennium Falcon, like landing on an asteroid and ending up being inside a monster's mouth. And I can only say that it was because my little child brain was thinking about Star Wars 24/7, 365.
So how hard did your brain freak out when you actually saw the scene in the theater?
Yeah, wow. I was like, oh my God, I dreamed that. Yeah. So
that is weird.
I mean, you guys became symbiotic at that time. And now that tops the cake. I mean, we all have our Star Wars like bonding moments because I'm a little bit older, so I mean, me and my dad is like you and your dad. We saw like at the North Point in San Francisco, and he was really big on we had books. We broke down the actors, the British actors, the voice, who was actually inside the costumes, how they made the sabers, all this stuff, how they filmed it. And so by the time we saw it, you felt like you were a part of it,
Sure.
So
did you see the making of Star Wars special? Yeah, of course.
Oh my God. I mean, but to have a dream, to have something that close, that would actually seem like you have a real connection. I mean, and it could be a cosmic connection, man. You never know.
Dave, hey, Paranormal Soul Brother, David had a cosmic entanglement.
There you go.
He connected with the movie. That's why he envisioned it. Yeah, that's what happened.
It, boy. That's it, man. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. It has to be. Hey,
but
David.
Donny, you had a deep question, man. We
no,
just didn't,
actually I had a question loaded up, but it's actually, well, okay. This is something I got to ask at some point in the show, so I might as well ask it now.
Okay.
What was your singular favorite modern comic book film?
Modern comic book film. Probably Winter Soldier.
Really? Out of all of them, it was Winter Soldier.
Well, out of all the Marvel movies, definitely Winter Soldier is my favorite. I'm a huge V for Vendetta fan. Love that movie.
Oh my God.
You read the books?
I read the books. Yep.
Read the books, also watched the movie. They did deviate a bit, but they captured the general overall.
Yeah.
Were the books better?
The books are great. I mean,
it's close. It's close to the movie, actually. Like the first 3/4 of it, it's almost the same.
Yeah.
They changed the ending a lot, though.
It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
You like the DC universe?
I do. I'm a huge Batman guy, so definitely the
Christopher
Nolan Batman, and
Last night I watched Blue Beetle. I didn't like it.
I heard it sucked.
I haven't seen that
one. My personal favorite modern comic book film was actually Watchmen.
Okay.
And it's not on a lot of people's
lists. Why is that,
lists.
Donny?
But okay, when they first announced that they were making Watchmen, because it was one of my all-time favorite graphic novels ever,
Sure.
right?
I'm a huge Alan Moore guy.
Everyone
Alan
loved the
Moore.
Watchmen.
Yeah.
and then I found out that Zack Snyder was doing it because he had done Sin City and 300 almost shot for shot, like for the panel. Like he essentially used the actual graphic novel as a storyboard. You could tell, right? And I was like, oh my God, he's going to do the same thing with the Watchmen. That's like impossible. There's no way he could do it. I go in and watch it, and he pulled it off.
In fact, you could even argue that the ending that he used for the movie is better than the ending in the comic.
As a matter of fact, another thing he did better than the comic was the opening title sequence. That was killer. I was like, this is so good. I mean, this was Zack Snyder in his finest, you know? I mean, he pulled it off. He did it like it was a storyboard.
Yeah, well, especially because Alan Moore specifically said, I wrote Watchmen so that it couldn't be adapted into a movie. So,
and if you get the special edition, all the between chapter interludes, he included all that as well. So I was like, he did it.
Yeah.
He did it.
And Watchmen is now part of the DC universe.
Yeah, now it's into the actual DC universe.
Yes. Yeah, I love
So, Donny, are you more DC or Marvel? Donny, which or both?
I like both, but for different reasons.
Okay.
Like the mythology, the mythology of DC, I like because, you know, you have my favorite story in DC is the best that humanity can produce versus God, right? In Batman and Superman. And at the end of the day, they see each other as equals because there's things that Batman does because he's not a god that allows him to overcome. And I always found that dynamic to be very compelling. The other characters are not as good because at the end of the day, you have like the main DC and then everyone else kind of sucks underneath, right? They're all like side characters essentially. But there's some cool ones like Constantine and all that.
Love Constantine,
yeah.
Well, I like Morpheus from the
Sure.
And then DC was able to pull in all these other IPs and kind of integrate into the universe, which also Marvel has done as well. Yeah. I do like Marvel in that it's a lot more dynamic. You know, you have a lot more, you know, you got like more teams like the X-Men and the Avengers and all the offshoots from there. Whereas basically DC is just the Justice League. And maybe Teen Titans.
My very first letter published in a comic book was Mr. Miracle #4.
Okay. I love Mr. Miracle. Yeah.
That's from the Letterhack days?
Yeah, my Letterhack days, yeah.
Oh my God. David, what's your
published?
We got to, you know what? We definitely got to check that out, David. This guy is more prolific than you understand, like a book a week, damn near. But and that's no lie. David, I wanted to ask you, what's your in Marvel Universe, and Donny, you probably think about this. Two things. I saw Orca or some underwater being that his bench press was 30,000 tons, where the Hulk's was 100 tons with the X Factor. But like Thor was 90 tons, Vision was 90 tons, a couple of people 100 tons. But then on a power level, you know, lately I've been hearing that the Fantastic Four, that their children are like, you know, like ultra powerful. But who in Marvel Universe, David, would you say is your favorite, and who's the most powerful in your eyes right now?
Wow. Okay. You know, I like Spider-Man is definitely up there. I mean, I think the original run on Spider-Man is amazing. And then I love Daredevil, particularly Frank Miller Daredevil. But I mean, even, you know, he's one of those characters that seems to bring out the best in the creators that work on him. And then I love Walt Simonson's run on Thor. I thought that was amazing. So, you know, I guess out of all three of those, probably the Thunder God. But I'm not one of these guys that spends a lot of time thinking about who's strongest necessarily. I follow
You can look that up. Like you can easily look that up on YouTube. You just look up Omega level because those are like the strongest characters.
That's right.
But then once you read on like how ridiculously powerful they are, you're just like, it's just narratively they just break the game. Like if you have characters that are essentially God, then you know it's kind of hard to write for.
I gotta tell David something here.
Yeah.
David, one of my characters, the legendary Dark Silhouette, was part of the Marvel Universe.
Oh, cool.
And this is my character,
Yeah.
shaking hands with Spider-Man.
Nice.
And this picture was published in a Marvel magazine. So
Very
that
cool.
appreciated my character with Spider-Man.
Absolutely. Who drew
That-
that?
That's so cool.
Brandon Kenny, Craig Rasmussen, and Chad Baker.
Cool. That's awesome.
And Brandon McKinney did Star Wars comic books.
Nice. Very nice.
Oh, you know something? We have like 5 minutes left.
Okay.
Tell your paranormal stories.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
So
wanna hear that.
real quick. Got two for you. So I was in Italy, staying with my friend at one summer, and we were in this old Italian villa, and you know, the door to the villa slammed shut, you know, and we were like, when we opened the door, thought it was the wind, and we're like, that's weird, you know, it's almost like it was a ghost, and then the door slammed shut again, and we like opened it up, and we're like, huh, gee, I wonder if that was a ghost. Maybe it was somebody that used to live here. And as soon as we said that, the door slammed shut again, you know, and we opened it again, and there were all these paintings on the wall that were signed by different artists and whatever. And we go, gee, I wonder if it's like an artist that used to live here. Maybe they did one of the paintings, and the door slammed shut again, you know. And we just went through like by a process.
It just like slammed in front of you. Like you just watched it slam. Wow.
Yeah. And so we went through a process of elimination, and we came down to, it's like, well, was it this person? And the door didn't move. And we're like, was it this person? You know, we landed on, was it Barbara? And as soon as we said Barbara, the door slammed shut again. Right. So yeah, that was weird.
It's like a binary Ouija board.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that was strange. And then the other thing, so I was mixing the trailer for the Children's Vampire Hunting Brigade, which is a series that I wrote based on real life Gorbals vampire incident that happened in Glasgow, Scotland, where hundreds of school kids in real life went looking for this vampire in the 1950s. It was considered a case of mass hysteria. They went looking in this one cemetery. So I'm mixing the trailer, and it's late at night. It's around midnight, and studio lots can be kind of spooky to begin with when there's nobody around. You know, So I'm walking back to my car, to the parking structure, and suddenly it's like I'm enveloped in pea soup, Jack the Ripper type fog. You know, as I'm walking to my car, and I'm like, well, that's weird. And then I get to my car, and my car is the only car that's in that level of the parking garage, except that there is this guy who is driving his truck around, and it's dead winter, it's cold out. He's got all of his windows down, and he's driving in a circle around the level of the parking garage, blasting opera with all the windows down. And I was like, okay, that's just weird, right?
What kind of truck was it?
It was like, I don't know, like a black SUV kind of thing.
Okay.
I mean,
Opera.
and I'm thinking to myself, you know, if this guy was like a vampire from my comic, then like, you know, the next thing I would know, I'd look up in my rear view mirror, and he would slam into me, and I'd wake up with 2 holes in my neck, right? So I actually used that as a scene in one of the second graphic novels in the series.
Did you hear the story? I forgot his name, but the guy who created Constantine?
Alan Moore?
Was it Alan Moore? Oh, it was
yeah.
Alan Moore. Yes, I completely forgot about that, because this is the story that my best friend loves to tell. He's a comic book like writer and artist himself.
Yeah.
But he said the greatest story he ever heard was from Alan Moore, and he was apparently, according to Alan Moore, working on I think he was writing for Constantine or something like that at the time, and he was in like a cafe. He sees a guy walk in, orders a drink, sits down, drinks his drink, and leave. And the whole time, Alan Moore's just like, because that was his idea of Constantine.
Wow. Well, there are stranger things in heaven and earth, right?
Yeah.
And so often, I think one of the things you find as a writer is that life imitates art more than you might think.
Wow.
Cosmic
Great
Cosmic
point.
Entanglement.
Oh
And
yeah.
really quick, Walter B. Gibson, the author of The Shadow,
Sure.
thought of the character so much that when his friends and family would visit him at his house, they said, "Hey, there's this guy with this black fedora. He's got a red scarf over his mouth and a long nose and wearing all black." And Walter goes, "What? That's the character I created, the Shadow." What he did was his mind was so powerful, it created a topa. And
Ah,
topa
Mhm.
was the shadow that was hanging out at his house.
interesting.
I've actually got a similar story, real quick.
Sure.
It's got to be my personal favorite ghost story.
Okay.
Um, I read this somewhere. I don't know if it's true because there's no way for me to corroborate it or not, but it's just if I want it to be true so bad because I just love this story so much. So Robert E. Howard.
Yeah.
All right. So I think this was back in the 20s. He was like this very big athletic guy, but a bit of a loner. He lived like with he was a grown man, but living with his mom, which was weird back then. And he lived in this tiny, very modest Texas house in Texas, in this tiny little bedroom with just a typewriter. And he said he had a hard time going to sleep at